How we doing, Christina? Welcome to the show.
Hey,
How's everything going? It's an honor and a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for being here and being present.
thank you
Um,
for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah, I wanted to get started and go into your hero's journey and what brought you to do what it is that you do and how you help people through that experience. And yeah, if you want to share that with us.
Sure, I'd love to. Um, as a child, I was very unaware that I was a bit different than most everybody in my environment. Um, I tend to see things from the outside looking in, and like as a child, I didn't understand why. I didn't think anything of it. I thought everybody was the same until I
Hmm.
started noticing that they had no idea what it was that I was talking about when I would tell them things that I saw and things that I heard or felt or sensed. And I sensed a lot of things, not just a
Hmm.
very little bit of things, but very many things. And I was very expressive as a child. So I had no boundary with what I was saying. And
Hmm.
I would tell them things that were going to happen, um, things that I don't know how I knew them. Like one time it was, I saw a man and he looked a certain color, and I heard that he was going to die. And I didn't know why. And I told my family, and I really, really scared them a lot. And the next week, the man ended up passing away. And so, like, it was a confirmation for me too, as well as them, that like the things that I was getting weren't just things out of nowhere. They were things that God was putting in my path and in my ear and in my heart. And
Hmm.
so it was a little difficult to connect with others on that kind of level because they weren't at that level themselves.
Yeah.
And so I came into this life like this, and I had no understanding of why people were the way they were. And the capacity for love was like just very diminished because of the pain
Mhm.
and the trauma. And so
Mhm.
like it wasn't a judgmental thing, but I used to just observe all the adults around me.
Mhm.
And I would also have other experiences like remote viewing, which would
Mhm.
not, I would not do intentionally, but like I would just end up somewhere like in a restroom or like in another timeline.
Mhm.
I would do a lot of astral travel, like when I would go to sleep. I would go to other timelines, and I knew that um, I was another person, and they were
Mhm.
showing me all the lifetimes that I was in other bodies and what was going on. Like the first time that I think I really got a little disconcerted by it was because I had told my mother that uh, I was a man and I was with a woman and we loved each other. And like I knew I was this man. And
Mhm.
I knew that I existed somewhere else. And
Yeah.
so like it's really hard to wrap that around somebody's head that doesn't understand those things and they have a lot of fear. And
Mhm.
so I went through life like this, and um, one of the biggest experiences that I had was when my father died. Um, I felt very alone because he was the only person that could connect with me on an emotional
Mhm.
level and understand me without judgment
Mhm.
and criticism. And I just realized that like they couldn't understand me because they judged and criticized themselves. And so like I knew that was the reason why. And so like when I lost him, I felt very lost, and I reached out to God, and I remember going up to an altar and praying, and I was 9 years old. And I was like, who's going to watch over me now? I'm alone. And the
Mhm.
top of the church lifted up like this, and I could see the sky. And
Mm.
a hand that was very big came in like this, and then I could see myself laying in this hand. My whole little child body was laying
Mhm.
in this hand of God, okay?
Mhm.
And they were just telling me I was not alone. And soon after, when I would come outside and I was a child, like just like as we're talking to each other now, my
Yeah.
father appeared. And for me, I thought it was maybe like a month, but like I'm a kid, so like I don't really know like the time.
Mhm.
But like he would walk with me and we would talk. And I told him, "Do I tell everybody that I see you?" And he told me, "No, they're not going to understand." And so when he explained he had to go and he would not be coming back for a while, um, I got the experience of walking with Jesus,
Mm.
and actually not like Jesus on the cross, but Jesus
Mhm.
as the soul. And
Yeah.
he did some healing with me for a while, and then
Yeah.
he left because he told me he had to help others. And so um, I knew this was like not a normal thing, but each time that something would happen like this, I would like close myself down more because I knew that like this was not going to fit in this experience and in this reality.
Mm.
And so for quite a long time until I reached adulthood, did I start to see things start to come back slowly into my reality where I knew this is not, I
Mm.
didn't know anybody else like it. Everybody that I knew was asleep. Everybody was churchgoers. Nobody was spiritual, not in that way. Everybody was religious. And
Yeah.
so, like, when I started hearing auditorily and I would hear the messages, um, I would also hear the communications of other people's higher selves, and I could
Mm.
communicate with them just like we're talking right now. And
Yeah.
so I would never tell anybody because I knew like I didn't want to be ostracized or judged or given a hard time. And then, like, as I allowed that communication to develop and time went on, it would be where I started sensing energy and started waking up and started being more aware of what's going on. And anytime I would express this, there would always be somebody in my reality that would tell me, "You're crazy.
Mm.
You're mental. Like, there's
Mhm.
something wrong with you." Or if you tell anybody in the church it was you're possessed, you need to get cleansed. Those are
Mm.
demons, like,
Yeah.
and so I had no idea. Everything was very conflicting to me
Yeah.
because inside in my heart, I felt another way, but like I felt the fear of them, which I kind of took on to myself. And so what I began to do is start asking God, is this you? To everything.
Yeah.
When I hear that voice, God, is this from you? Is this person from you? Is what I'm hearing from you? Like,
Yeah.
show me. And what happened was, is I would get three confirmations every single time. It would either come by dream, it'd be coming by the television, by something that I read, by a song that I hear, by a person telling me something. And so by the third time, I would know, like, this is God. This is not what
Mm.
anybody says it is. This is God. This is my connection with God. And so I just started to learn and develop that and be less afraid of that
Mm.
because when you're like that, sometimes you could just tend to take on the fears of everybody else and then they become your own. You have to learn to move past that conditioning so you can really grow and listen and trust and know what you're hearing.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember that I that speaks a big thing to me too, because that was kind of my childhood as well. Like I would see, I didn't know though. I didn't know any of
Yeah.
it. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know who it was. I didn't all I knew is that I remember, for one example, right? In my sister's house, her husband died when her kids and his kids were young, and I would go to their house a lot, and I knew he was there. Um, and certain things would happen, and I can see the shadow of him moving or whatever. But if I told them, I knew that they would think that I'm crazy. And already as a child, I was already rejected because I wasn't supposed to be born, or I was an accident. And then I was the kid of the father of his kids that left their mother, so I was to blame for. And I was already kind of like the black sheep or the shadow kid or the one that shouldn't have been born, the one that wished was not there, right? So she never took it like that, my sister, but still, like it would be crazy to tell in this reality somebody, oh, I can see these people. I can see your husband, or I can see your mother, you know, and her mother and him were there. And I would get scared shitless because I didn't know what it was. I don't know why I was seeing these things, you know. Um, but I too shut that completely off. And for years until I want to say 26 is when all of this started to come back because of chaos and certain things in my life and Saturn's return in our cycle of life or whatnot and all of these things, right? So I know that that was something that closed myself off as well from all that until now and everything that's coming in and coming back to me, the innate wisdom that we all have and carry, right? Um, so when it comes to what it is that you're able to connect to, what is it that you connect to that can help people not only return to themselves, but discover themselves
Well,
or remember themselves more than anything?
okay, first, I would actually offer the advice to just speak it out loud what it is that you want to experience because
Mm,
we are so surrounded by an entourage, just like celebrities are surrounded by an entourage. And sometimes in the
mm,
beginning, this used to make me feel a little uncomfortable because I felt like somebody's always watching me until I learned that they're not watching you like that. Okay.
yeah,
They're not watching you to judge you, to say, this
yeah,
is wrong, that's right. We do that, not them. Okay.
that's a human trait. Yeah.
Yes, that's a human trait. And so
Mm-hmm.
they're here to support us. They're here to share their vibration. They're here to share their love. And most of these beings that we're surrounded by are people, not people, but energies that we've worked with like over our soul's existence. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so soul family, our angels, our everybody has it a little bit different, but like I'm
Mm-hmm.
surrounded by a lot of higher selves. All my guides are all higher selves. I don't have any guides that are outside of me.
Mm-hmm.
They all come from within, but on other
Yeah.
frequency levels. And so, like, sorry, a lot of ringing right now on both
Mm-hmm.
ears. Okay. So, what I would say is the more that I started making intentional statements out loud, is
Mm-hmm.
when I started opening up. God, show me something I don't know. And if you don't have to believe in God, this is not a religious thing. This is
Mm-hmm.
having to do with your soul, its energy, its existence, where it came from, like who you are, like outside of this body, because we are having a physical experience, but we are an energy, okay? And so when we say, show me something I don't know, show me something that's going to benefit me, help me with this, bring this into my reality, this is what I want, this is what I feel, this is what I want to let go of. And if you have a problem speaking it, you can write it, you can pray it, you can light a candle, whatever way, just reach out and make it known. When you make those things known, then the answers always come back. They're always shown to you and you're always guided. You're never, ever alone. And so, like, that's just what I started doing. What
Mm-hmm.
when I would say, God, show me, is this you? Like, I'm very scared. I've taken on all these fears. I don't know what is what. I know what people say and I know what I experience, and they're two different things. And it's always going to be like that. There's never going to be anybody that experiences completely the same thing that you've experienced because we are all very unique. We all have our own qualities innately as a soul, and we all have been through our own trauma, our own learning experiences, our own growth patterns. And so, like, whatever feels good to you to reach out and help you move forward, there's no wrong way of doing it, just like there's no wrong path. All of them lead to where you need to go to. So that's what I would suggest. That's
Yeah,
what helped
so
me.
three things that I wanted to speak on what you said, right? Is one, we have the answers within always. Two, every higher aspect of ourselves is ourselves. Anything that you are connecting to is because you are those things and you're not separate from them. And
Yes,
then three is um I forgot the third one, but I think what it was when it had to do with how we separate ourselves from these things or from people because maybe the indoctrinations of what we have grown up with and how we think. I mean, even atheists, right? Atheists believe something higher than themselves, whether they believe in God or not, created them.
yes,
It's there. It's something higher. Something higher must have created me, other than the fact that my parents had sex and they procreated me, of course. But what gave them, and who, and the evolution process. That means something higher was created. So whether religious or not, something higher is always there guiding us.
yes,
Like you said, an entourage, right? I have been told myself many times that there is a really large group guiding me, and I feel them when I'm inside meditation, when I'm there, not just family, not just ancestors, but even higher beings than them
yes,
and higher beings than them, right? And I see all of these aspects, like you said, higher aspects of myself that are just me because that I think and if you want to speak on this, that would be great because I would love to hear your opinion on the fact that I think the biggest illusion that was created in this r realm of relativity was the idea of separation,
yes,
or the illusion of separation, to not know that me and you are the same being, just expressed in a different way through a different light, through the individuality of what my same actually connect highest expression is of ourselves, right? And of course, this is the only way God can meet God. God
yes,
can know God, right? So if you want to speak on that, I would love to hear your opinion on that.
yes. Like, I started noticing it and hearing it intentionally. Well, like I said, heard other people's higher selves and
Hmm.
could communicate with them. And when I would tell people, they would get very thrown off. So I learned to just use my discernment instead of
Yeah.
closing myself down.
Mm.
And I could communicate with their higher self without them actually knowing. And they just
Yeah,
really
yeah,
didn't understand when I would tell them. And so when people are not ready to hear, you'll get this, they'll just shut down.
yeah. Mm.
You'll be talking, and it's
Absolutely, yeah.
like you're talking to yourself.
Yep.
Okay. And
Yeah.
like they'll be looking somewhere else, paying attention to something else. It's because it's not there yet. Okay. So,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
that was the first time that I realized and I had awareness of higher selves. And then the entourage, as far as that goes,
Mm.
it was a little different for me. Um, Sometimes my house would get busy. It's like when you get company, are your families coming? Okay. And there were certain times during the year or during the month where it would be a mass amount of talking and voices everywhere all over my house. And at
Yeah.
first I thought, I don't know, is this like something bad? Is it like entities in my house or something? But like it wasn't. And so like I perceived that this one time where we got in the car, me, my family, my kids, and we got in the car and the car felt like it was weighted down
Mm.
when we got in and we're sitting in there and I could hear the beings with us and they were not like anything malevolent, like ugly or anything. It's just they were traveling with us. And I
Mhm.
guess I was being shown and I was being taught like what happens. And through my filter, it was like I could feel the car was like weighted down, like we had a load of people inside the car.
Mhm.
And so I would just perceive that. And I would also perceive that like when there's something coming into my room. One time it was a spirit animal and I could feel four four feet hitting the ground, like, and they're walking just like animals walk, like, you know.
Mhm.
And so like I perceived it like that. But this is how I started to learn that we're all connected, like that we're not separate. And yes, we are our own individuality. And yes, we should have our own boundary and not take on other people's things, because that is also something that we don't
Yeah,
need to do in this experience, because it wreaks
absolutely.
chaos and havoc within us. But like, yeah. And so I learned that like we're all connected. There is no veil. We put the veil between us and them.
Mm.
Like the veil does not exist. It exists to a point where, you know, when we're not awake, the veil is there because it would be too disconcerting and confusing to our senses. Because when I opened up, it was like, wow, why am I hearing the neighbor? Why am I hearing the this? And I wasn't really hearing them, I was hearing their higher selves. And so
Mhm.
like, and also like all these spirits and all these things. But like when I started to know that we can all coexist and there are so many layers on top of layers that go up, just even on our physical reality, it's all connected and we all touch each other, you know. And
Mhm.
not just our experiences that are like this in higher dimensions,
Mhm.
but our experiences on a multi-dimensional level. We have also
Mhm.
parallel timelines that are parallel to this one, where we exist in this aspect, who we are
Mhm.
today, our same birth date, our same information, our same body, our same characteristics. So every time something happens and we cross paths with somebody, and our soul wants to learn another type of lesson, or their soul wants to learn a type of lesson, another timeline opens up next to this one, and it keeps on
Mhm.
going as we meet more people and there's more experiences. And so depending on what your experience is here, like in your multidimensionality and where you're from, you could have either up to 6 to 12. And like if you're an older soul, you can have an infinite amount of parallel timeline existences. And so like that's why it's very good for us to have a boundary, energetic
Mhm.
boundary of who we are. Otherwise, we start to get a sense of other things happening in other places that affect
Mm.
us, and they can cause confusion to our experience now.
Mm.
And so, like, I had a lot of that going on where I had to just tell my guides and my higher sources that, like, I need to solidify the boundary here. Like,
Mm.
that's that timeline's experience. This is my timeline's experience. And you have a right to do that too. So I know a lot of people experience these things and they don't know what it is that they're actually experiencing. But like that's a form of we're all connected. We're all one. We're all one. We all come from one source. And there's many, you know, but like we're all one.
Mhm. Yeah, I was just funny that you say that. I was just telling somebody this morning, like everything that's happening is all part of the orchestration of the great grand stage that we're all in. And nothing is by accident, nothing is by coincidence. Everything that not only individually, for example, right? There's so many things going on in the world right now. There's so much quote unquote, we want to call it darkness, right? But that's simply just there in order to find the darkness within ourselves because it's bringing out a lot of crap in a lot of people. And there's
Yes.
so many people that are angry and so many people that are this and that, but it's there bringing and shining a light on our stuff so that we can shine that light individually. The more we change individually, the more we can change collectively as a one people, as a one human, as a one source. And even deeper, right? Like that's how I was telling the person. I was like, everything that's happening is there so that you can recreate yourself. in the newest light and the newest expression of the greatest version of yourself that you can be in that moment, in that place, in that time. When you separate yourself from that aspect of the thing that's, I don't know, making you angry, making you pissed, America, this, and that, it's not even, it's not that. It's just another way that I like to translate it is if anybody or yourself have seen Alice in Wonderland. Um, the biggest theme there is everything in Wonderland seems to appear what it is, but it's not what it is, and everything that is not what it is what it is, right? So all the illusion, and that's why Absalom always calls Alice a stupid girl, and she's like, "I'm not stupid." um, because he's absolutism, knowing of all that everything is an illusion, and that's why he keeps telling her, "Stupid girl." Like when are you gonna get it that everything here is an illusion, and everything that appears to be what it is not, and everything that's not is what it is, kind of in a sense, right? Where
Yes.
it's the same like that in this world of relativity where everything that appears to be what is real or what they're saying is real is not real, and what is not real is real to an extent, right? So it's all part of the grand stage and how we play it and how we find
Yes.
um, ourselves through these experiences that are happening not only collectively but individually to an extent, right?
Yes, they're happening for our benefit.
Correct, yes. Um, everybody, like I said, everybody's just playing the role and the character of the great grand stage of the movie to an extent. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is, in my opinion, the way that you restructure everything and what you do. Can you go into that?
Like,
When it comes to like a service, like the readings and and what you tap into and the kind of like how you gave me the paragraph of all that. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I've never seen that and I think it's very beautiful and interesting to be completely honest.
okay. Well, first I'll explain too that I didn't really realize that what was happening to me was I was accessing the Akashic records in the Akashic field. And
Yeah.
so what happened was is when I really started to wake up more this
Can,
last time.
before you go into that, can you explain what that even is? For those
Okay,
people who
sure,
might
sure.
not know what the
Well,
Akashic
I was gonna
records
give
are.
you uh an example so you understand.
Mm,
And
okay.
so what happened is I would cross people's paths. Like
Mm-hmm.
one time I got a new neighbor that lived right behind me, and I was looking out the window and I saw her, and I got this deep knowing that was like she really stood out to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know why. And I felt like I knew her, but there was something that was like a gravitational pull, almost like two magnets that want to come together, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened was is after I closed the window and I went down to my couch and I was alone, I sat there, and it's almost as if I was daydreaming,
Mm-hmm.
but I was actually viewing another place and another time. And I was sitting there and I just saw the dirt floor,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw sticks, slats of wood, not panels, but like the branches, the
Mm-hmm.
wispy type things. And they were going up all over the place and they were being burned. And I saw the woman next door to me telling me, go. And she was pushing me, run, go now, and hide, run. And I was like, no, I'm not going to leave you. And go, run. And I was like, why? And then I turn around and there's a man on a horse, and he has a woman's head by the hair. And she was beheaded. And there were people burning on other slats. And they were saying, witch, witch, witch. And it was so deep and so traumatic. and so scary. It was like I was actually there,
Yeah.
and she was telling me, run, go. And she was trying to protect me. And like I was running and I ran into the meadow, into the forest. And then I came out of it because I was saying, no, I'm not a witch. I'm not a witch. I'm not a witch. And it's like I came out of it and I'm saying, I'm not a witch. I'm not a witch. I'm not a witch. And it's like every single person that I knew in this reality, I could hear the ones that were connected to it. And I didn't understand what was going on. And this would
Mm-hmm.
happen with me all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I learned later on that we have these records. Our soul keeps these records. And they had told me before, but I never really understood. They had told me experiences like the Akashic records, some of them have been tampered with. And also and I didn't know what Akashic records meant. I would just listen, just like you're listening to a channel on a radio. And so they started telling me, this is the record, like the book of your life, but every lifetime. And um, this is not a wrong or a right, a bad or a good, a sin or a not sin. It's not that. It's not a judgment. It just is. Just like you look at a book that has words and it has pictures that's already written, right?
Mm-hmm.
It already exists. There's nothing good or bad about it. It just is. And so
Mm-hmm.
this record comes about as like a compendium or like a library of everything that you've experienced in each lifetime. And so I never heard of it. I didn't know that's what I was accessing, but I guess, like, putting two and two together later on, I understood. And
Mm-hmm.
so these records, I could access them and access them like for myself, for other people that I've crossed, like when I cross their energy, also like uh also when I'm just sitting by myself and they want to show me something, it just comes to light and I go there mentally, and it's like daydreaming for me. My eyes are open, but I
Mm-hmm.
could see. And so like that's how it is. So like the Akashic records is like that. It's just the information of all existence, and basically you're showing them how it's done. They are observing, and
Mm-hmm.
they're here to assist you, but they are also observing, and you're the one that's showing them how it's done. And so all of it gets recorded, and it's there for everyone to access in the field when they want to access something. And so
Mm-hmm.
all it is too is that you have to become open to that vibrational alignment and that frequency, to that door, and then it opens up and the information comes to you. And usually for me, it's when a higher self aspect wants to show me something, that this
Mm-hmm.
door opens like that, and I get to see into the records. Now I do it a little more intentionally,
Mm-hmm.
and so I go into a person's information with their date of birth, the place they're born, and I have to establish their soul. I have to establish that I'm reading for that soul, the person for
Mm-hmm.
this incarnation, because there are certain experiences where um, we've let another soul have influence over us,
Mm-hmm.
and so they get attached to us in our energy instead of being connected to source. And then every incarnation after that, they take part in our experience and they shift with us, taking turns to like get
Mm-hmm.
their energy to exist through us. And so, like,
Yeah.
I have to be very careful and know which soul I'm reading for, which soul is intended for this incarnation,
Mm-hmm.
and then then I could get the appropriate information for the person I'm reading for. I learn about their qualities, what innate qualities that source gifted them with, like innately, that they come packaged with, like
Yeah.
they're not
Yeah.
learned, they're just part of who you are. So that never changes. That's always the same. And so, like, I'm able to tell people about their divine qualities and what it is that they're consisting of. And that's what I put together on the reading.
Gotcha. And then one thing that really caught my eye was the patterns. Can you speak about that and
Yes.
not only maybe opinions or suggestions on how somebody can break patterns, but how they can be worked through, or more than anything, how you can assist through them.
Okay. So, first, we really need to understand that we have to be open and receptive to want to see the patterns that we have.
Mm.
Once we start,
What do you
basically,
what do you mean by that?
okay, basically is a lot of times in the beginning, it's like through suffering. And so
Mm-hmm.
when we experience something that is extremely uncomfortable for us,
Mm-hmm.
that hurts us or that traumatizes us, and we see it reflecting in our reality with other people and in our life, and it keeps repeating, we
Mm-hmm.
then get tired of the suffering, and it causes us to spark to want to have a change. And so basically, I call that like running your face into the asphalt. You get tired of grinding in the
Running
same
that
spot
pattern.
again and again. And so,
Amen.
like, your
Yeah.
life becomes miserable, but that's for
Oh
a
yeah.
reason.
Yeah.
It's so you can learn what it is, what actions that you are taking that is allowing that to happen. Because what's important is that we realize that nobody outside of us is doing these things to us. We are allowing it. And so
Preach.
I always tell people never give anybody outside yourself that much power where you say,
Mm.
you did this to me, you did this to me,
Mm.
because
Yeah.
that's extreme victimization, and we cannot move forward from extreme victimization. If
Yeah.
um, if we're not willing to take responsibility of our own life and know that we allowed those things to happen, then we can't move forward. And so,
Mm-hmm.
yes, things do happen outside of a reality that have to do with other people that make us suffer and have those experiences, but nobody held a gun to our head and forced us to allow that. We allowed that by allowing those actions to happen in our life. So once
Mm-hmm.
we realize that, we can move forward and we start to get shown things that are patterns and cycles that we have chosen to
Mm-hmm.
learn from. And they could be suffering, they could be betrayal, where you feel like everybody's always betraying you, or it could be like you
Mm.
feel unworthy, or different things like that affect us. And so they affect our life and how we express in our life and the people that we meet in our lifetime to help show us what we got going on. And so, like, once we're able to do that and ask to be shown, we start to see, oh, this keeps on happening. Why is this happening? And so, like, we start to find out what energy it is, what pattern it is. And like, once we learn what that is right there, that we have that pattern, we're halfway there. Just acknowledging that and seeing it come into our reality is halfway there. And then we have to take the other 50% of the step to do something about it by taking
Mm-hmm.
action. And this action always has to be the opposite of what that pattern is. So if you feel like you've been being betrayed, that means
Yeah.
you've been betraying yourself for other people and other things. You've been putting other people first and not yourself. Okay? Betrayal
Yeah.
is never a matter of somebody doing something to you. It's a matter of you being shown in yourself that you're betraying yourself. Okay? And so same thing with victimization. Like, and so like once we do that, we pick different actions that are opposite to that. So like
Mm-hmm.
the next time somebody comes to you and they say, oh, this is happening, and you feel like, oh, let me do this for you, but your cup is empty, you choose like, I'm sorry, I can't do that. Like, I have to
Mm-hmm.
like take care of myself, and I really
Mm-hmm.
wish you the best and I love you, but like, I have to put myself first. This is something
Yeah.
I'm learning. And if they don't like it, then that just means they don't see your value and that they're just there because they want what you have to offer. And that's taking from yourself to give to them. And so we don't ever want to do that, because it's also a form of judgment on their end, because we're saying, hey, you can't take care of yourself. I have to help you. Then we have to look inside, like, why do I have to feel like I have to rescue somebody? What's going on inside me that I have to rescue?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's something that needs rescuing inside myself because I'm trying to rescue everybody else around me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's usually because there's a piece of your soul or a piece of your energy that you sent away for something else or somebody else that needs to be called back. And so basically, you can just do the opposite of the karma or the lesson, and it starts to correct itself. Now, if you feel like it's something that you have done that already with, and you keep on getting stuck and it's not moving, then something I could do is to help you by going into your record, accessing your book of life, and then seeing what pattern is causing it. And so, like, what happens is I find all the patterns and all the things that are blocking and restricting your energy in this lifetime, and also all the other lifetimes that connect to it. And it's kind of like a thread that goes back. Now, I like to go back as far as I can,
Mm-hmm.
like closer to when you first started having incarnations, not just on earth, but like through your soul and its
Yeah.
journey. So, like, I like to find the deepest root one, and then I like to find the ones that are the most traumatic. And I tie them all together and I present them to you so you can acknowledge what it is that you've chosen to learn from, what it is that it is, like the energy that it is, where it stopped you, where you let it to prevent you. And so when you acknowledge all of this and you choose to release it, then I can pull the thread and take it out of your record. And it's kind of like a big old tapestry, like a
Mm-hmm.
rug that's been woven together, like on different levels. And so I find the thread and I pull it out. And it's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
also when you have dominoes and they're all lined up, right? And you get the first domino and you hit it, they all
Yeah,
fall down.
everything goes down. Yeah.
Yes. And so that's what I like to do for people too. So,
I had a deja vu while you were explaining all that.
okay.
That was it. I was like, huh, that's crazy. Um, yeah, you're speaking my language there when it comes to patterns. Like I want to use an example of my life so that people can get a little bit of understanding when it comes to that. During, I want to say November, I had a best friend. I wasn't in the greatest spot. I didn't have my cup full, like you had stated. Something happened in his life where everything was crashing and he needed help. And of course, he's my best friend, so I wanted to help him. But I knew something inside me when he gave me that call said, don't do this. That was my intuition. That was my higher self telling me, don't do this. I ended up doing it anyways for a little bit. And then I finally realized that there was a part of me. I'm gonna make it about the self and then also about how two people are showing each other the oneness within one another. Just like I've been stuck in a pattern that I help people when I can't help myself. I was helping somebody that I shouldn't have helped when I need to help myself more than anything. Yes, it quote unquote in the world it becomes hard because it's your best friend. In this situation, it was my best friend, right? But you have to understand that that was a part simply of your psyche showing you an energy within yourself. Oh, look at where you're at again. Here's a pattern that you have adopted that you can't get out of. He's just here to show you it, representing it in the physical realm, how you are in the same pattern that he is now in, which he's been in the same pattern that I've been, in the same energy. Me and him are one, and we are not separated from each other. We are one and the same. Now, in the physical world, we are separated because God is meeting God through one another, or
Yeah.
human through one another, right? Here is the pattern you've adapted continuously running it. You've been in this cycle about three, four times. When are you going to get it? Until you finally, what I had to do, I helped them. I had an experience with my cat where I had talked to my cat and I told him, hey, we're going to take care of his dog today. My cat ran away for a day and a half, didn't come back because even before the dog came, She was like, I'm not gonna be a part of this. Yeah, she was like, I'm not gonna be a part of this. And that hurt me big time because I was like, where's my cat? And all this happened. That's what snapped me out of the pattern. My cat was
Your
like,
cat was teaching you.
yeah, your cat was like, dude, screw you. Like you can barely take care of yourself. Not in a sense, barely take care of yourself, but you don't have your cup full.
Yeah,
You're neglecting me, and then now you're gonna bring in a dog that I know I'm not cool with, that has anxiety problems, that has separation problems, and you're over here bringing this dog, and then after that it snapped me out, and I had to tell my friend I was letting him borrow my truck so that he can get on his feet. I didn't need my truck at the time, so I was like, here, use my truck, sleep in it until you get rid of the dog. You can come sleep here. Eventually, I had to call him and say, hey, the dog was the thing that snapped me out of it. And my cat not coming back until the next day. And I had to say, as much as I love you, and he argued, and you saw the little boy inside of him come out. Because even when I tried to explain, he didn't want to hear any part of it. All he said, and I saw myself in him, because I have reacted like that when I'm hurt.
yeah,
And I couldn't say anything other than just have compassion and understanding and love that part of him, which was loving the part of me that I have victimized myself at times when somebody does what I did to him, doing that to myself as the same in this one in the same, right? And so breaking that pattern, letting him go, letting him know, hey, I can't help you, and it was something, it was bigger. Obviously, the idea of why I did it was bigger. Now he didn't understand it, and I couldn't, even if he didn't let me explain it, and I was okay with it. I was okay with not making him understand, and I just told him, "It's all right, man." And then you didn't even let me speak. Nothing that you. It wouldn't matter if I told you anything at this point because look at how you reacted to what I'm doing. Me telling you I can't help you anymore. I need my truck back, and good luck was hard for me to do because that's something that, I need to do for myself to build myself in the world where to end that pattern, to end that cycle, and to help myself and not help somebody when I can't help myself, you know? Um,
yeah,
but in that sense, like that's a situation where a pattern repeats itself where
yes,
it keeps happening and here it is again. Are you going to change it? Are you going to finally do it? Are you going to finally do the opposite of what you actually done? Like you said, right?
yes,
Instead of doing the helping, hey, I can't help you. I got to help myself. I'm sorry. Uh, at the end of the day, you're helping them by helping yourself because then since they got,
yes.
since they got quote unquote rejected from the world, they're going to finally say, shit, I'm
I need
alone.
help myself.
I need to help myself. There's nobody else that I can help. He's been doing the same thing, just like I
Yeah,
was, right? So, in a sense, I caused and created that clash where I broke outside of that pattern. Did he? I don't know.
yeah, but
But
we
that's
can't,
his.
we can't
I
have
can't
anything to
worry
do with
about that.
somebody
Yeah,
else's. Yeah,
exactly.
they
As
have, that's part of their learning process. Yeah, yeah,
correct, because this is where, yes, we are one, but at the same part, we are also individuals having individual experiences. And in a sense, if I start worrying about his process, then I never really broke the pattern. I
yes,
just
yes,
made myself believe that I broke the pattern, but I'm still
yes,
latched onto that energy.
yeah.
Um, but
That's
yeah, that's
a very good example. And like I got a lot of knowing and messages while you were talking through that. And so
speak
like
them.
one of the reasons why we do not do that is because um, we're actually preventing them. They're on a learning curve. And so when we get a red flag, we're getting a red flag for a reason, not just for
Mm-hmm.
ourselves, but also for them.
Truth.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, they may be on the top of that learning
Mm.
process, starting to hit it, right? And then we come in and we're like, oh, let me help you. And so, what really happens is we're disempowering them and we're giving our energy
Yeah.
to them. And guess what? our energy does not help anybody else. Like if they took our energy, it's just going to cause chaos in their own field because
Yeah.
that's not them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's us.
Mm.
And so yes, we can facilitate healing for people and open the door for them to like decide if they're going to meet in the vibration to heal themselves. Like, and that's a whole different
Mm.
thing, but like
Yeah, yeah,
we
yeah.
cannot go and fix somebody's experience for them because they will not learn. They're on their path just like we are, and so like they're
Mm.
they're learning, and so like when we do that we put them backwards. And so also the other thing too is that when we do those things we're making exchange with our action, like on
Mm-hmm.
an unspoken level, that is making agreements with them that are like that cause blocks and restrictions inside of our energy, like
Mm.
how can I put this? Okay, anytime you have to do that and you start taking from yourself and you're going to help somebody, it's like you make a contract with them and it's not verbal but by action.
Yeah.
And so you're saying I'm going to protect and heal you. So that means I'm opening this cord of energy to myself and I'm sending you all this energy and draining myself. And so
Mm-hmm.
then you do have that on your record and your energy too. And so that means you're giving away your energy. Even after you
Mm.
decide to walk away, that cord is still there. So, like, you have to energetically be acknowledging of that, remove the cord, and then, allow it to go. But, like, so, like, that's another thing, too, like, we have to be very careful with that because then we make karmic lessons with the
Mm-hmm.
people that we're trying to help because they don't need our help. That's
Yeah.
called being a soulmate. Like
Yeah.
you're making a soulmate connection out through a level of action. Like,
Yeah.
here, I'm going to learn from you and you're going to learn from me. And you may not even have another lifetime with this person, but you're opening up a contract right there. And then it
Mm-hmm.
moves forward and it carries on. And then it
Mm-hmm.
also reflects in your reality because, like, the next time you meet somebody, you're gonna get the mirror and it's gonna show to you again, and you're gonna experience that with someone else, and then someone else, and then someone
Mm-hmm.
else until you decide to see it and take action in another way. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then sometimes, uh, I wouldn't say sometimes, I don't want to use that word, but most times the best thing you can do to help somebody is not help them.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds harsh or bad, right? I guess you need to understand that when you are in the feel of needing to help somebody to save them or help them in some sort of way, you're actually doing them a disservice. Like you said, they will not learn what it is that they needed to learn individually, right? Sometimes, and I know this is gonna sound bad, but I'm gonna use my family as an example. Oh, even myself, right? There's times where like my sister, when her kids did something, like they always had that pillow to fall on, right? But you're never going to grow or let them experience what it is that they have to experience to learn from themselves or even myself, right? I had that pillow to fall on, and it was like I got tired of it. I'm not learning from it. I can't ask. It's not, and I'm not saying it's not good to ask for help. I'm just saying, like, if you know you're in the same cycle and you keep going back to the person because that's a pillow or your safety net, then
Yeah.
you're not getting anywhere. So, in a sense, when you feel the need that you have to help somebody, that's actually coming from an egoic place or a
Yeah.
need to put yourself for validation to some sort of something where it's coming from. Yes, it's coming from a good place, but not really to an extent, right?
If
Because
it becomes a compulsion or a pattern,
yeah,
it's just showing you that there is something inside yourself that needs
exactly.
rescuing.
Yes,
And what you're doing
exactly. That's what I
is
was getting
putting
to.
putting other people in
Yes.
front of you to fill the void of what you're lacking.
Yeah, exactly. And then to understand that there's times where the need or not helping that person and letting them come to you when they are ready. If
Yeah.
especially you have told them, "Hey, I can help," and
Yeah.
they keep running away and being like faulty about it, they're not ready for the help.
Yeah.
Let them come to you when
Yeah.
they are ready to finally say, "Help me. I am
Yeah.
ready to be helped," instead of like either forcing somebody or being, "I'll help you. You got to do this, and that. If you don't do it, then then whatever, I'm taking love away from you." And then that worsens not only you, but them, that makes them
Yeah.
fall deeper into the hole that they're in.
And when
So
you walk away, it causes a lot of a
a
domino effect of
lot.
things, because when people get angry, they don't realize
Yeah.
that they project a lot of anger that are almost
Hmm.
like spears that go into your energy. You
Yeah.
have to deal with that.
Into your
Also,
heart.
the negative intentions, the things that are like the sabotaging energies, the things that are like offensive come along, because you get their reaction, the reaction of you removing your energy from them when they're used to you saying, "Here, let me serve this to you on a dish," and them saying, "Oh yes, I'll take that," right? So
Yeah.
like when you pull that away, they're gonna resist that, and it's gonna cause
Hmm.
some kind of backlash. It's just bound to happen. It happens every time. So like we're all, these are all just learning experiences for us
Hmm.
on every level. They're reflections of mainly us. You know what I mean? What we need to fix for ourselves. And it's not always an instance where they're on the other side of the coin and it's the same thing they're experiencing, because sometimes they're seeing something completely different and they have another lesson out of it, and
Yeah.
it's not for us to know. You know what I mean? For
Yeah.
us to know is what we see in the mirror when we deal with that judgment or that criticism or whatever it is that it brings up in us. Yeah.
Hmm. Um, Segueing into this part, you were speaking about energetic cords and how they can affect us when it comes to soulmates at times. Can you talk a little bit more about that and how those things can when we hold on or give too much?
Yes, I'm going to talk about a few instances, like, and
Mm-hmm.
give you an example of what you would be experiencing when these things happen, so like, if this is happening to you, then you will be experiencing this. And
Mm-hmm.
so one of the things that I find is sometimes when you're walking away from somebody and you're long past them and
Mm-hmm.
you're thinking in your mind, "I wonder what happened to that person. I wonder if they ever
Mm-hmm.
stopped having that problem with their parent or with their girlfriend or with and then you're just constantly cycling that again and again in your mind,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Yeah.
so that's when you have a compassionate connection with somebody. So basically, you're sending them energy on a level of action through your thought, and you're saying, yeah, I hope they get better. Oh, I hope that changes for them. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I wish that they do this. Oh, I wish they do that. But like it's like a little cord like through your mind that feeds them energy that really doesn't do anything for them. It don't change their situation. It doesn't help them. It does nothing.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a cycle of worry that feeds somebody else in some way, but through the level of compassion. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's one way. And so if you find yourself like still, those things can go on for years. You could have that when you were a young adult or a teenager with somebody, and you could be in your adulthood and people think, "Oh, this is just nostalgia," right? But
And
it's not.
and how does that affect you as an individual?
It takes your vital force energy, and
Mm,
that's your connection to God. That's your physical energy. That's your energy to manifest for your life. And if you're thinking on behalf of somebody else constantly, how can
mm-hmm.
you be focusing on yourself?
What if it's coming from a place of like love?
Compassion is through love, but like
Mm-hmm.
our compassion and our love doesn't need to be expressed through like a cycle of worry, where you actually connect to somebody. Like we're all connected, right? Even though
Mm-hmm.
we're all energetically in our own integrity with our own boundary and our own qualities, expressing our own unique experience, right? But we're all
Mm-hmm.
part of one, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But anything beyond that is not appropriate, because our energy belongs in ourself, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We do not owe anybody our energy, our thoughts, or anything. They have the power to think for themselves. Us
Correct.
thinking for them just because it's love doesn't, It's
What
just not appropriate. Like,
what if it comes from, let's say, like a memory of like a moment you shared and you think of that person and it's like,
oh, that's
oh God.
different. That's
Okay.
just a memory. Yeah.
Okay.
This would be like, like
Because
when it,
sometimes those memories bring us like, man, I remember
yeah,
that moment that I shared with that
and you
person and
feel
I felt
good about that.
absolute love.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's normal.
Okay.
That's normal. That's like a glimmer, of something that
Gotcha.
was a good thing,
Yeah.
just as long as you're not constantly going back to the past and not feeling happy in your present life.
Mm-hmm.
But like,
I wanted to clarify that for
yeah,
people
thank
because
you
like
for
I know
that.
some people like be like, well, what if I was thinking of that person I felt love and like I'm not supposed to think of them? Like, so I just wanted to clarify. But yeah,
Yeah, no,
continue,
that's
go for it.
fine. It's just like when it happens in the beginning and
Mm-hmm.
you have that, it's like kind of like when you start talking to somebody and you keep on thinking about their situation when they're going through something and
Yeah.
like you're doing stuff and you're constantly like, oh, I wonder if they're okay right now.
That
If everything's all right, and it just keeps on
mm-hmm.
going and going and going. That means that there is like an energetic cord where you're feeding that compassion through worry into them.
Mm,
So it's taking from you when that happens. And so, like
mm.
later on, if you see yourself and that comes up, that's your energy showing you, or your higher self showing you that, hey, this is still present. This needs to go. It needs to
Yeah,
be acknowledged and you need to remove it. Yeah.
gotcha.
The other kind of cords are like cords of sometimes when somebody is on another vibrational level and like we
Mm-hmm.
need help and we're down,
Mm-hmm.
we'll be like, here, whoom, and we're casting a line and we're holding on to them, right? Energetically.
Oh
And
God, I've
like
experienced this.
it could happen just through talking to people. So, like, what I
Mm-hmm.
do when I finish talking to people, I check my energy, I scan my energy, and I ask to be shown, is there any cords? And I know that
Mm,
people, they don't do this maliciously, okay? This just happens. It's an
mm-hmm.
energetic phenomenon, okay? And
Mm-hmm.
so, like, you just clear it off and ask your
Mm-hmm.
guides however you need to do it, like, and you clear your energy and remove that cord. Don't cut
Yeah.
it, pull it out. Okay, because you cut it, then stay
It's
in
the
there. You
part
have
of it
to rip
stays
it
in
out
there.
by the roots. Yes.
Mm.
And so, like, that's the other form of
I've never
energetic.
heard that before. I've usually heard just cut the cord. I've never heard pull it out because I can see that. Like that makes a lot of sense logically. Yeah, part of that cord will stay in there.
They've showed me, and it's like
Wow.
a tree with roots. And so,
Wow.
like, you grab everything you grab by the roots. Every thread you pull by the root. Like every
Mm-hmm.
domino effect, you start at the first domino, like, and you move down that way. And so,
Yeah.
like, unless you want to keep on going back to dig for more. So, yeah, that's the other kind of cord. The other one is a little more manipulative. And this is when you're dealing with somebody that is intentionally manipulating you. And
Mm.
so these are like what they look like to me are hooks. And so they don't just go in, but they go in and they hook you. Okay. And usually for me, there's an energy behind that hook. And that energy is usually something that they want to subliminally create out of
Mm.
your experience in order to feed them energy. So basically, if
Ooh.
somebody hooked you and the idea is um, there's not enough to go around because they
Mm.
feel like they're lacking and they want you to feel as well that you're lacking. If I'm lacking, you're lacking. So feed me energy. And so, like,
Mm.
every time that you experience like that hook and something comes
Wow.
into your reality, you'll be feeling like, my God, there's not enough. I'm not good enough. That's more than me. This more than me. This is, I need this, I need that. And every time you feel that way, that energy will come out of your personal energy and it will feed
Mm.
them. And so to me, that tells me the type of person this is and that they're intentionally
That's
like
deep.
doing this. And so I tend to stay away from people like that. But for you, what that would tell me personally for me is that inside there, in this mirror that I'm looking at, I
Mm-hmm.
feel that there is not enough inside me. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why I'm allowing that person to hook onto me. And that resonates with me because I hold that inside as well somewhere. And so then
Dang.
I have to go searching inside. Where does that originate? Show me something I don't know and show me where that started so I can acknowledge that and feel that and
Mm,
know that that's not me. That's, you know what I mean? We come with everything. We come with abundance. We come,
mhm.
it's our birthright.
It is
Okay.
our birthright, yeah. That's an
Yes.
affirmation that I have like
It's who
affirm
we are. It's not like this, oh, I need love or I want love, right? And it's not, I have love. I am love. I am love. That's it. Like,
hmm
so nothing outside of me can change that unless I choose to allow that to be changed. And so then you have to acknowledge where that is and remove those things and feel that, like, and let it go and know that you're love and ask for that piece of your soul or whatever it is that you sent away to come back home and fill that void,
mm,
because we're not, we're feeling the loss or the lack. So that's what those cords show you. They show you what you got going on, but it also shows the integrity of the person that
man.
placed it too. So like it's showing you like, hey, this person's not a vibrational alignment for me because I don't need to fix their lack. I need to fix my own lack. Yeah. And
That's pretty
so
deep. I hope people are listening to that. I feel more than anything like that's the collective energy that the darkness spews out that has made us all believe that we are lacking this, that, the house, the car, whatever it may be,
that's
love.
the conditioning of society right
Ooh,
now.
yeah,
And
religion, society,
it's not who
politics.
we are. Like it's not who we are. That's the collective energy. And it has
Mm-hmm.
really like um it's there's a whole nother reason for that. That's for
Mm-hmm.
us to feed fear into energies that are like beyond this world.
Lower than, yeah,
That,
in the underworld
yes, and
that
it feeds
latch
them.
onto us, lives through us, and
And so once we realize those things, we're
mm-hmm.
allowed to like have our own free will and say, no,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be a part of that by making different
Yes.
choices.
Yeah, become your own sovereign.
Yes.
Um, Man, I was gonna speak onto something that you were saying. The manipulation part. Um, ah, Here it was. It is the, let's say, um, you are lacking that or you have that energy, and then you start speaking, I am love, I am whatever it is, but yet your reality says otherwise. How can you change and manipulate your reality
How could you change your experience?
to change that experience instead of now latching onto that energy that latches onto you and then become your own sovereign in a sense?
Basically, like we come home. And so, like, when we start to help others and take pieces of ourselves off to help others and then take on what they have in place of that, and then the trauma that we've experienced from that, that's where we feel the lack because our fragments of our soul are missing from those areas inside of our energy. And so, like, it's the mirror reflecting back that therefore we need to find out those pieces that we sent away and let go of that conditioning and that trauma that we held onto it in that place, because as human, we when we lose something, we have to fill the void automatically. Like humans think that the spaces all need to be filled and maintained. And so, like, even when you do a lot of healing and you move forward from that, a lot of people will self sabotage, and like when they stop a pattern, they'll start making new pattern of the same or different patterns because they feel like, I'm bored, it's empty, this is not right, what's going on. They
Yeah,
feel a lot of, because they're not used to feeling peace and
life's
silence.
not fun anymore.
Yeah, and it's like because they got so used to
Yeah.
that karmic pull, that
Mm,
frequency, that, like,
the drama of the
that
chaos that
pulls
brings it.
everything in that you
Yeah.
fill the void with. Okay, and
Ooh.
so like we
Oof.
can we have a way around that too. When we
Yeah.
heal and we release that, we ask source to put divine grace in there in its place,
Mm,
and it holds the space of nothing, okay, but with the light. And so like we don't feel the need to start feeling it because like our soul is there,
damn.
you know
Yeah.
and so yeah, like that's what we could do. But I'm sorry, you did ask something more than that, huh?
Yeah, how can you like change that reality?
Okay.
And when the circumstances or you're experiencing is not reflecting that reality.
Okay, yeah. Um, so like I was saying that like we have this void and we go through this process, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why that happens. So the more that we acknowledge and know what our patterns are, and we let go of the trauma and the things that happen from other people, and we become more of who we are and
Mm-hmm.
less of what everything else is, then we start to maintain energetic integrity. And so as within, so without. And so the more you connect with letting go of those things that are lack and the things that are fear and the things that have been like impressioned into you that you took on as your own, and you clear those off and you start to be who you are without that, all the things that you work on inside and acknowledge inside of being who you are and your truth and integrity and being authentic, right? That starts to reflect and spill out into your reality outside yourself. But the only way that happens is when you start to heal what's going on inside, because everything inside reflects on the outside. And so if you're seeing that there's lack or there's insecurity or there's unworthy or there's whatever it is that you see reflecting in your outside, that's because it's in there. And it may not
Mm-hmm.
always just be in there from this lifetime. It could be other lifetimes. It could be other parallel timelines. Like there's a lot of layers. And so like when you learn and you actually open yourself up to hearing where they are and what they are, and you release that and know that it's not you, you start to become full of who you truly are and your birthright of abundance. And so that
Mm-hmm.
then becomes the mirror. The things that people start to mirror around you start to show your birthright of abundance. It starts to show your worthiness. It starts to show your wholeness, your completeness. But that takes some time, and it takes some
Mm-hmm.
diligence and resilience and not giving up, you know?
Okay. So
Yes.
I have an episode on how the world is your mirror, but can you give us your expression of that in a sense of like when you say everything that's inside us is what reflects the outside and how to
Okay.
identify and become aware of it?
Okay. How I identified with that is like by seeing the equality of experiences that I had with others. So for me, it was lack, it was insecurity, it was victimization,
Hmm.
betrayal, and
Hmm.
also disempowerment, like was the main thing. And so basically, it was like I was experiencing this with everybody around me. Like I would not I would give and give and give, no matter even if I saw that somebody was not seeing my value, and I would wait and wait and wait, and I would put
Mm.
them first, and I would even know that they weren't valuing me, but like I was like being patient, I was waiting, I kept
I
on
used to
giving.
do that.
I thought the more I could love, the more I could put
Yeah.
love there, and I was not filling any void by giving them more love, and it's human. You will just accept all the love somebody will give you. You know what I
Oh
mean? If
man,
you want to
yeah.
give me more, right? That's how some
Yeah.
people are, and it's
Oh
human, right?
yeah. I
Yeah.
remember I experienced the same thing, and like I think the thing that would keep me there is something that I would say is I'll heal them with my love. And that kept me there for people would be there forever because I would say that
Oh
until I
yeah, and then
stopped.
they get really, really mad
Oh
when you
yeah. When
decide
you,
to start
yeah.
moving for yourself. It's
It's
like,
like, wow.
you
Yeah.
did this, you didn't buy from
How
me, you
dare
didn't do
you
this for me.
stop? You
Yeah,
know, like yeah.
it's like,
It's
wow.
yeah.
And then you tend to realize this is what you really had me around for. Wait a minute. Yes, I
Mm-hmm.
knew this was what
Ah,
they had me around for, but I just didn't want to
chose
see.
to ignore it.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. And so you'll see these things reflected in your reality, and it's your mirror of showing you like what you got going on inside. It's your biggest
Mm-hmm.
teacher. Like, and so when you
Mm-hmm.
start to like really look at those things, you can really, really glean a lot of information of like, this is what's still in there. And a lot of people they can't accept that, how they have you are what you're against, or what other people have inside them, you have inside yourself too,
Yes. Yeah,
right?
there's a
And the people,
phrase.
they don't want to see that. You know what I mean? It's hard
Mm-hmm.
for them to face, because then you know what happens? Those, that wall that they put up, those masks and those
Yeah.
beautiful facades, they all fall down, and then they get to feel what's going on inside, and
It's
it's too
beautiful.
much, you know? And
Yes.
so I've had people tell me like, oh, I just want to be your friend. I don't want to know uh I have in you, or you see in me what you have in yourself. I don't have that in me, you know? And it's like,
Yeah.
we're human. Anybody who says, I don't have that, I don't do that, I don't, that's not me, that's because it's not. And the
Uh,
same for us too, because what is good on one end is good on the other. The rule
yeah.
applies across the whole board. And
Mm-hmm.
the only reason that we can't see that when we do that is because we have self-criticism and self-judgment and the things that have been conditioned on us. And if we just realize that there is no wrong or right, no good or bad,
Mm-hmm.
that's a sin, or this is, you makes you a horrible person. It's just what you learn and what you experience to learn from. Like, we
Yeah.
did this to learn and grow. And like, it's basically what we're doing is turning that lead, that heavy lead, into gold for our soul, to
Yeah,
expand
yeah, yeah.
even more than it already is, like innately.
Yeah, there's one thing that I always say, like even when I'm coaching people, right? If you spot it, you got it. Like sorry, like there's so many like, and I'll use a huge example of it. So many people hate Donald Trump. But
Yeah,
what the things that they hate about him is things that they might have yet become unconscious, and that
yeah,
boy is just teaching you who you are, and you
yeah,
haven't seen it yet. Um, and there that and then of course we reject it because we're so separated from our own self that we
yeah,
can't yet see this until we become comfortable with the fact that, oh, snap, here comes the acceptance now. I do have that living inside of me. Or
yeah,
I didn't know I had that living inside of me, but how can I now understand in order to recreate myself so that I can choose, okay, let me accept the light and the dark inside of me, and then let
yeah,
me recreate anew so that I can now
yeah,
mold my reality to what it I want it to be. And maybe he might be there in your reality still. Maybe he won't. And that's what I say, like when it comes to certain people, like you see this all the time when you recreate your reality, certain people that used to exist cease to exist in your life because they are
yeah,
no longer part of the energetic field that you're in, or they are
yeah. They're
no
not a
longer
vibrational match.
exactly. So they don't exist anymore
Yeah.
in your life. And then kind of like you said earlier, right? We attach those, oh, I wonder what that person, I wonder if they're okay. And then somehow we bring them back with something like that.
And
Uh,
also, we may not just bring them back, they may have never really left energetically, too.
yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's yeah, that's a beautiful way of saying it. No, it's inside of you. Like sometimes we want to think that we're angels, but in reality, like, like we have both parts living inside of us. And those parts, when you can see the world as neutral and you start to say and start to come to acceptance when it comes to that part of your own self and see something inside, any judgment, like I always teach this to people too, because I learned this through myself. Any judgment that you make about another is either something that you reject inside of you or
yeah,
something that you have yet to become aware of, whether good or
yeah,
bad, right? If a person, for example, there's a leader and he might be an asshole, you probably see that mostly because you haven't accepted the fact that you're also an asshole. Or
yeah,
if,
somewhere in there.
yeah,
And it
somewhere in
may
there.
not always be in this reality too.
Yeah.
You, or you may have moved away from it, and
Hmm.
because you're consciously aware and you know that's not something that you wish to be expressing like that anymore. But like, it could also be that you wanted to learn those experiences, and then on another parallel timeline, you're an asshole, okay? And you were really that, and you wanted to play it out. Your soul's still experiencing it. So because it's part of you, it's part of you. Yeah.
Hmm.
And that's
And
why we
then
shouldn't judge it either. We have to accept
exactly.
it. We have to accept ourselves. It's just all about people knowing that this is just a an experience we're having here.
Mm-hmm.
not to get too serious with it in that way where we hurt ourselves with it,
Yeah. Yeah. And then
just
this is
learn
it.
from it.
And this is the positive spectrum of it, right? Maybe
Yeah,
that same leader you have, the person knows how to like lead people and they're systematically disciplined and they have their things in place. And maybe you have yet to have that part of yourself activated. They're just showing you the possibility of what lives inside of you, in all of us, that you can activate that too. You just haven't strengthened that yet.
yeah.
So in a sense, it goes in that, and that's the shadow. That's something that Carl Jung coined, the parts of us that we are unconscious or conscious about, that we
The parts that
reject.
we disconnect ourselves from, yeah.
Correct. Yeah, the parts
Yeah.
that we disconnect or have yet to awaken dormant that live within us. So thank you for that. That was a beautiful way of expressing that.
Thank you.
Um, one other last thing that I'd like to ask is, where can we find you? What services do you offer? And where can we know more about you?
Okay. So I am on Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
TikTok, and Facebook under Magic in a Bottle. Facebook, it's Christina Mary.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have a separate business is the Akashic Blueprint or Akashic Blueprint. That's where I do all the soul readings and the pattern cleansings and the
Mm-hmm.
ancestral healings. Also, there's times where we've taken on these things and we've changed who we are, our blueprint. And our blueprint is our energetic copy of our information this lifetime. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes we don't quite fit into like our environment with our
Mm-hmm.
parents, with our friends, in society. And so we change something around. We'll take something out, we'll add something in, we'll mix something up, right? We'll put something on hold, like we're they're like you could see it as ones and zeros, right? Or like
Mm-hmm.
data, right? And so
Yeah.
this is our blueprint and our information that we chose this lifetime. And so sometimes we corrupt that blueprint. And so I can identify where you've corrupted that blueprint and remove the corruption and recorrect it for you. And so that's one of the very like good things that is done through that. And also I couldn't express more like learning about who you are on a soul level, because if you learn who you are on a soul level, then you won't be fooled by all this conditioning and
Mm-hmm.
things that people have put on you telling you this is you. No, you
Mm-hmm.
can't this. You can only that. Or when you know who your soul is authentically, then you ain't going to be strayed and swayed and moved all over the place by that, and it won't affect you. So like
Yeah.
the other good thing about that is if you know who you are on a soul level and you express your life in that alignment, you begin
Mm-hmm.
to flow instead of going against the grain. You live in a flow where things start to work for you and you start seeing it in your reality mirror, the good
Mm-hmm.
things,
Mm-hmm.
the things that you truly are, instead of those things like betrayal, victimization, all those patterns. They begin to like move off of you when you learn who you are. So like I'm able to do that through there too. I have a website. It's
Mm-hmm.
www.magicinabottle.store. And
Mm-hmm.
so I have the first half, like all my products that are healing. I make some energetic healing products that are like tinctures,
Mm-hmm.
and like this one's angelic healing that supports the nervous system, and
Mm-hmm.
like things like this they showed me for all the energy that we have coming through the sun, and the coronal mass ejections have been getting longer and longer. And so when that happens, the earth's resonance, or the vibration of the earth, the Schumann resonance, starts to spike. And
Yeah.
this spike causes change within the earth, but it also causes change within our human bodies and also everything on the earth. And so a lot of times, because like we have these things that are bothering us, these traumas and these emotional blockages that sit in our body everywhere, we have these neurotransmitters that are all over the place that communicate, and we have these traumas and emotions that sit in there. And so like it makes it really hard on our body when the sun blasts that and it's trying to like shake everything off and move us forward. And so like what happens is like we'll experience ascension symptoms like, you know, the headache, the body ache, the tension, the right here, like a lot of tension, the jaws, you know, grinding down and stuff. And so like that is something that helps remove the things that are stuck in between. And
Mm,
it helps the neurotransmitters start to make their connections again. So like
yeah.
I make products like that and oils that help, you know, balance your body and help raise your vibration and heal. So that would be at the first half, and the rest of my readings are all at the bottom half of my other services.
Beautiful. I love that. Is there any last finishing words or thoughts that you have? Oh, you know what? I gotta ask you a question before.
Okay.
Um, you talked about the victim mentality and
Oh yeah.
the other thing. Can you dive deeper into that? When it
Yeah,
comes
yeah,
to when
that's
our souls like choose the victim route and or choose the
this
other
is
route.
really
Yeah,
important.
this
Yeah.
is deep. Yeah.
Yeah. So they showed me that when we came off source light and we started to incarnate in bodies, and this is before Earth, like wherever it is that we decided to start incarnating and making our journey, it just depends on how old your soul is. If it was before this star system or in parallel realities or like wherever. So we chose to take a path. And so we're whole, and our soul template, our blueprint, our template of who we are as a soul, not our information as like our incarnations are the things that we express in these lifetimes, but like who our true soul is. It has a template that never changes. Okay. And so on this template, when we decide to move away from it, we're betraying ourselves. And so that is the first action that we take that helps lower us down in density. And every time we make a decision to take on these things, it lowers us down, and we were able to move down in density towards the earth. And so, like, we chose this is the way to do it, because when we're whole and complete as a soul, our soul is this vibration that's so high because it comes from source that it will not want to lower down in density. It won't want to come towards the
Mm,
earth. It will stay where it's at because it's really
yeah, yeah,
happy,
yeah.
right? It's
Mm-hmm.
infinite peace and love. So, like, we decided to betray ourselves and who we are on a soul level. And that's our first thing. And so that's why we're always feeling and experiencing like somebody's betraying us. They're always doing something to us. Like things are happening against us. And it's all because we decided to
Mm,
do this against our soul. Okay. So we're saying we're lacking, we're insecure, we're this, whatever it is that it causes. And so we betrayed ourselves like that. Then we decide to diverge on two paths. One path is, for a better lack of words, um, it's one is the victim and one is the bully. And so one is the giver and one is the receiver. And how they showed me was they showed me a battery. And so the battery has a positive and negative polarity. And it does that so it can become a whole complete, you know. And so
mm-hmm.
like what happens is this positive that's the giver and the negative that's the taker. And it's causing us to migrate towards each other so we can learn and express and experience these lessons together. So it's like two magnets that bring us together. And so like the people that took the victim path, they're going to always be experiencing things that are like causing them trauma in a way where they feel very victimized, and they're allowing themselves to be disempowered through victimization. And the people that took the the taker or the receiver path or the bully path are always going to be allowing people to give to them, allowing people to do for them. And they'll always be like what the victim feels is attacking them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they ain't gonna they're also not gonna understand why in some sense too, because like, oh, you wanted to give it to me, right? And the, oh,
Mm-hmm.
you just took it from me is the other side, you know. So
Yeah.
there are all both ways that we chose to disempower ourselves. That way we could lower ourselves down in density towards the earth, which is very like dense in 3D. So that's the two paths that we decided to take. So I'm able to help people identify what path they took. And Also
Mm.
identify all the contracts and agreements that they had up until then, and also like the hierarchical demonic contracts that played out to make those things happen. So people don't see behind the scenes. What happens is that these entities and these demons, they all have a purpose. And it's like this. When you have a play and
Mhm.
behind the curtain, the props need to be set up, the things need to be put in place, certain backdrops need to be made, you know? And so, like, they are what helps and allows us to learn these lessons too. They become a part of people and they become a part of their energy, and it helps, like, also just bring in that whole experience. So like when I remove the contracts, I'm removing the contracts through them too. That way they do not attract more of that into your life. And so once we do that and
Mm.
you take action that's the opposite and acknowledge that, then you will maybe experience a few experiences that like kind of test you on a soul level,
Yeah.
where it's like, are you done with this or not? Are you going to leave it behind? Are you going to move in another direction? And then when you do, it's like a hot air balloon that has bags that hold you down, right? And basically, we're cutting the bags off, right? And so when you cut the bags off, what happens to the hot air balloon? It rises up in vibration. It rises up in up. It's you're way up here,
Yeah.
and you're able to see a higher picture, a bigger view, a bigger perspective, you know, like a bigger peripheral vision, like everything in the field becomes more. And then also you open up to a higher aspect of your higher self.
Mm.
And so the guidance you get is like eagle eye view, you know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
so like it's a spiritual opening, this knowing your path and removing all of that. So like those that's my spiritual opening package there. So,
Yeah, I was tying into this. I was talking to somebody about this yesterday, literally. When it comes to like when we think about the word demon, the word when you separate it, D is negative, mon is related to the moon, emotions, right?
yeah.
So with our thought, we create a
Oh
negative
yeah.
emotion, creating something where the underworld or a negative entity, uh demon, as they
We
like to
create
call it,
those.
yeah, we created that in order for not necessarily, the darkness is there for its reasons, as you said, right?
Yeah, it's to learn.
They are there to teach us, and also in a sense to bring these into the light, back to source,
Yeah.
back to God, back to their origination, because they're stuck there, as they
There
were
are
holding
there are
on.
fears.
Hmm. They're
There
stuck
are
there
fears that
holding
we
on.
chose to learn from. Yes.
Correct. And I was telling the person, like, yes, yeah, maybe we do create these in the lower astral realms or in the underworld. And that's how they live through us, because that's the
Yeah.
only way they can live, because they're stuck there.
Yeah.
As they got their self stuck there, right? So when we send them back to the light, we no longer have them anymore. And I gave an
Yes.
experience of to for example, a ceremony that I had with psilocybin. I was sitting down, and eventually a thought form appeared to itself in a demon, and it had these horns, and it had, it looked as what we
Yeah.
are shown to as demons, but it's not really what it looks like.
Yeah.
But it presented itself to me that way because that's what I was told demons look like. So of course it looked at it, and I was looking down, and it wasn't until I knew it was there and it was looking straight at me and smiling and laughing and doing stuff to scare me, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I said, all right, this demon is not going to go away. And it's not until I said, all right, I have to face it. So I looked at it and I told it, what can I do to bring you into the light? And as soon as I said that, like that, and it was a thought form of judgment.
Yeah.
It was a thought form of judgment that I had created because I judged myself so damn harshly. And that entity judged itself so damn harshly. So that was the voice that
Yeah.
would speak to me, telling me
You
this, or
demonized
that.
that part of yourself,
Correct,
and
exactly.
it
So
became
then,
your inner critic.
Exactly. And then
Yes.
when I told it, what can I do to make you go into the light? Instantly, like that, it disappeared. And it never, that part of me ceases to exist. And I know how to, like, yes, judgment comes up, but it doesn't come up like it used to. And I mean,
Yeah.
it used to have a hold on me. Now it's like I love when it's comes up because I know what's going on. I know how to, I don't need, it's not even managing it. Like it's just like it doesn't affect me in the way that it comes up. It's like, oh, okay. And anyways, the point of that is like when you send them back into the light, they go back to source, and they're
Yeah.
things like how you said, they're there
Yeah.
they're teachers. They're great
Yes.
teachers.
And they're nothing to fear. I I know a lot of
Yeah.
people are very commanding and they're trying to transmute those things like
Yeah.
and it's not really about that. It's about
Mm-hmm.
learning from that and accepting that part of yourself and then releasing that fear, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It just played a part. And that's why too, like when I see that somebody has a lot of demons, because I also do land clearing and house clearing,
Yeah.
sometimes they'll tell me like, hey, don't touch that. Like, because that's their learning process.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have to be very discerning, like if you know what I mean? Because like if
Mm-hmm.
you remove everything and they're like, oh, I'm just gonna keep on doing the same thing, you're gonna make it longer and harder for them. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they're just gonna recreate it, like how you
Yeah,
said earlier
yeah,
with the
because they're not
patterns,
ready.
and those are the patterns that I think,
Yeah,
for not I think that I know we were speaking on when it comes to, oh, then you get so attached to the chaos and the drama, so then you recreate the same
yeah, yeah,
entity just in another way.
yeah.
That was another one that likes to do the same thing that you were doing, you know. But
I
any what were you gonna say?
I did want to like mention something because like I
Mm-hmm.
am kind of have like a little bit of a special purpose here. Is
Mm-hmm.
that this last year um
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot more about myself. And
Mm.
so they were showing me some things
Amen.
that I
Me
really
too.
didn't know. Yeah, it's been a
2024 was wow.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It was good though. It
Yeah, well,
was
no, it
all
was.
good. It may have not felt like it some at certain points through it, but
Yeah,
like it was good. It was for a reason, and I definitely saw that. But
truth.
I was sitting and like doing healing, and I was seeing doing inner child, and they I just kind of went somewhere. And
Mm-hmm.
as I went, I was looking at a situation where I saw my biological mother who was 16,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw myself as an infant and I was 2 days old. I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking from this perspective at this whole situation, and I see her get my baby blanket, and you know, that's all I had from her. Like when I got raised by my aunt was just the items that I came with. And so like I recognized the blanket right away and she was covering the baby with the blanket. And so she was trying to smother me and
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know why. And then she kind of got shocked, like, what am I doing? And then they showed me that it was like postpartum depression. So
Mm.
I kind of understood what was going on. And so I was seeing it from a perspective that was like through my higher self's eyes. And
Yeah.
so I saw that once that happened, I wasn't looking at it like this. I was then in the baby looking at her. And what I was witnessing was that the soul that was there and I had an agreement, and that soul was done with its purpose, which was to awaken my biological mother in some way. And
Mm-hmm.
so that soul left, and then I walked in to the body.
Mm.
And
Mm.
so I had no idea I was a walk in. And so they began to show me about this experience because I believe that they want me to help others who are here on the planet
Mm-hmm.
at this time that are also walk ins. Um, so after that, they began to show me like coming off of source light, and this is only relevant to people that are blueprint originators, meaning their origination comes from source. They are the blueprint of all creation. They are like the fingerprint of
Mm-hmm.
God on everything. Okay. So they've observed the whole progression from the very start all the way down to where they're at now. And so I saw the light coming off of source, and I saw the progression down through time, what we call time. And so
Mm-hmm.
like they also showed me like all the parallel realities, and then the angelic realm, and then the galactic realm, and then like the human experience. And
Mm-hmm.
they showed me the making of the human experience, the stars, the moon, the sun, and then also the infinity and how they wrap the infinity to balance everything in the universe. Okay. And so like there's a group of us that have come and we're emissaries. They use the word exactly, emissary. And
Mm-hmm.
so, meaning you are the face and the representative of source.
Mm-hmm.
You come here to bring the light, the code, and here to make an adjustment for whatever it is that needs to be adjusted. And your soul and God will know the reason why. Different people that I've seen have different reasons. Some people come to heal sexual trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Some people come to heal mental abuse. Some people come to heal like suffering, just traumatic events, different things that humanity suffers from, like schizophrenia, different things.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, the soul and all your timelines that you choose to walk into or that you're being sent to walk into as a representative of source, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you walk into that body walks out, you walk in, and that body is somebody that's like, for me, it was extreme trauma, a lot of murder, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of murder. And so like um I chose to walk into those lifetimes where there was going to be murder because that soul was not it couldn't handle that kind of environment. It didn't want to choose to resonate with
Mm-hmm.
having that experience.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I went into every experience like that. Other people, some people have like really physical abuse or sexual abuse, and they'll walk into all those lifetimes that are like that. So they'll get that full string of all of those timelines. And then when there needs to be a big change in humanity, at that time when they come in, they will heal that whole thread of all those lifetimes, and it will help flip the scale for humanity to move forward in evolution and ascend. And so right now, like I've been intending and reaching out and helping others that may be experiencing this. And so, one of the ways that you could tell if you're experiencing this is if you feel like your body doesn't feel like your own.
Mm-hmm.
You never really truly fit in. You don't
Mm-hmm.
fit in with others. You also feel like you're on the outside of the situation up here looking in. And what happens is that the soul, when it incarnates into the body, its energy is there, but it doesn't have the remembrance of everything because it has to cross the rainbow bridge. It has to cross that river of forgetfulness, right? And
Yeah.
so people that walk in, we don't have to cross the river of forgetfulness like that. And so we come into the body fully embodied, and sometimes it could be from sixth dimension all the way up to 13th dimension. I've noticed that your higher self is actually, your energy is seated inside your body. You come in as your higher self, okay? And
Yeah.
so that's why you'll always feel like you're on the outside looking in, that others do not understand you. You see things beyond what others see. You communicate with the higher selves. You communicate on another level and very many different levels. And so, like, I'm reaching out now, and I made the intention that I want to, like, um, make my services known for other people that may be having problems acclimating to this and understanding what they're going through in life, and learning how to adjust to it and just
Mm-hmm.
find the proper information to help them understand. So I am writing a book. I've been writing a book uh,
Nice.
to help people understand some of these knowings that I've come with. So,
Yeah.
but in between now, I do want to reach out to others that are experiencing this. And so, like, they could reach out to me and I'll be offering my services for that.
Beautiful. Yeah,
Thank
that was one of, so I don't know if you remember or if I did tell you about the dream that I had about when I went to the Crystal City, and I remember all of those things that happened to me. Um, I woke up and I didn't know where I was, who I was, what was going on. And it took me like 30 to 45 minutes to adjust and understand, oh, I'm in my apartment, I'm in my bed, I'm in San Diego, I'm in this
Yeah,
part.
you had embodied more of your higher self.
Yeah,
That is, you know, when you open up and you go into your fifth dimensional energy, and that's like pretty like most people when they open up, it's like that. The people that walk in, this usually happens when you're at a young age, a very
yeah.
young age. I have not seen it with anybody that's like under the age of, I mean,
Oh
over
no,
the age of 10, but
I
yeah,
was, I was, I was, that happened in 2020 for me.
yeah.
And,
That's not the same kind of walk-in experience though.
oh, yeah. And then
Yeah,
after that, everything rapidly like that started changing. Like
yeah,
everything started changing. Like it was like I swear to you, like like every year was like an a jam-packed full of files of lessons that I had to like let go of, and then my ego started to get shredded and shredded and shredded and shredded and continued until like I was like, holy crap, so much awareness now that I have. And the
yeah,
things that I have learned have been light language came in, different kinds of forms of connections with beings and channeling and just stuff like that. I was like,
yeah. You
I
opened up to
guess this is all
more of
real.
yourself.
Yeah.
And you know, the more healing that you do and the more diving you do into that and letting go of that
Yeah.
conditioning, the more you open up and it makes room for the opening to open more and another higher self opens up and expands. And every time this happens for me, I notice that there's some qualities that, just like you said, things look different,
100%.
things feel different.
Yeah.
Like the even the colors sometimes, like
Yeah.
come out of the room and
Yeah,
it's like,
the world looks more
yeah,
beautiful than it used to.
yeah. It's
Like,
because every time you're seeing from a higher perspective and a higher
mm-hmm.
perspective, and you're getting
Mm-hmm.
closer to who your soul is on a soul level
Yeah,
without all of that
100%.
heaviness. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and all of that started because I I was already like I was like a closet person that looked into all of these things, like I didn't want people to know because I was like they're gonna think I'm crazy. Like I mean everybody already thinks I'm weird and like crazy, so I'll just keep it to
So
myself until
you
like
know the definition of weird, right?
no.
You can bend reality.
Mm, interesting. I didn't know
You
that.
can change reality. So that's where they would start calling people weird because they had powers
Oh,
to manifest
that makes
beyond
sense.
reality. So
Magicians, yeah.
it's an honor to be weird.
Yeah.
And you know, I take that like humbly and as an honor. You know, when
Yeah.
they showed me the dunce hat,
Yeah,
my
I don't
sister laughed at me because I saw lifetimes where I wore the dunce hat, but it's not a dunce hat. It's you have so much energetic power that you have to channel it into a point
yeah,
for it to come down and be, you know what I mean? Just like how they, I
I
guess,
get you.
how they put that wire up there when there's a lightning storm to protect the building, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
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 and I don't see like the definition of weird like how I used to anymore.
yeah,
I'm fully okay with that. I embrace it now,
yeah,
but
yeah.
um I I started to dabble into so many things and like what was her name? Dolores Cannon like opened up a whole world for me, right?
Oh, yeah.
Of things that I already believed in, and then it was just started becoming unknowing. But that night that happened, I did a inner child meditation, and it tells me to like pick a memory, right? I didn't pick anything. It was picked for me. I saw the memory, and in this meditation, I understood what it means that time doesn't exist and how the past, the present, and the future are all
It's all
happening
the
now,
same.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And because when I was a child in this memory, I was in the alley of where I was at, and one of my half brothers was telling my dad he was emotionally mad about the fact that he left their mother and he was drunk and he was high. So he was yelling at my dad and he was just crying and telling him shit. And he was telling me,
Everything.
you should have never been born. You were an accident. You were this. And I was behind my dad and my sister, and some of them were there. Some of my family were there, right? And I remember in this In when I was a kid, it was happening. I turned to the right and something was speaking to me. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know who it was. And I understood in that meditation that it was actually me at that time speaking to myself, healing myself. I was speaking to the little kid, the little 7-year-old, letting him know everything is going to be all right. He doesn't understand what's happening and he's expressing himself in the best way
Yeah,
he possibly can.
the
And I
only way he
started,
knows. Yeah.
yeah, and I started, and I never in my wildest dreams understood any of that until that day because I understood, holy shit, that was me
You
speaking
took
to
it,
me,
you
and I didn't know that.
oh
I didn't know that it was me speaking to me. I just knew that somebody was speaking to me on the right, telling me these things, and that
yeah,
gave
and
me
you have
peace.
somebody on your higher self is sitting right on that side of you right there too.
Mm,
Yeah,
it's
I've seen it
crazy.
like a couple times already, but yeah.
Yeah, and it brought like I was in tears that day. And I was crying for hours and hours and hours because I was like, holy shit, all of this is true. I can't fucking believe it, right? I was like, I thought and I that I knew that these things were true, and then I really got embedded in that. And that night, that's when I had that dream where I went to the Crystal City and then I woke up the next day and I was like, I've never slept so long. And I woke up and I was like, where the hell am I? Like, who
What
am
year was
I?
that? Was that by
It was
2012?
it was in the peak of COVID.
Oh, okay, okay.
Peak of
Yeah.
COVID where all of this was happening in 2020. Like it was I remember the exact date, October 26th, 2020.
Wow.
That's how much of a memory was embedded into me that I
Oh, so it
remembered
was more of your higher self coming to you and you having that awareness that did that for you, huh?
to an extent, yeah, because like I said, I woke up, I didn't know who I was. It never happened to me in my life. I didn't know who I was, where I was, what I was. I looked
Wow.
in the mirror and I was like, what is this place? And I was like, what? And then I was freaking out in my body and I was like, okay, calm down, and it didn't happen until I started coming back to senses and then I started being like, oh, okay, this is my apartment. I started remembering my name, started remembering where I was, what country and all of that. And then I came back to senses and I just thought that was the weirdest thing. And it wasn't until I met Ava that she helped me kind of understand that and even you.
And
But yeah.
if you choose to see from that perspective and ask to be shown, you can also not just learn off of people and others, you can learn off of your whole entire lifetime. If you go
Hmm.
back through your timeline and look at all the experiences that you've had, and then you could see where you're shown things that you weren't paying attention to at the time. They will
Yeah.
show and I have an experience like that with my higher self too. I didn't know what a download was or even an
Yeah.
upload one because I consider it upload when it comes from the earth and I could feel it going up,
Mm.
and then a download when I feel it coming this
From the
way.
heavens, yeah.
So yeah, and so
Interesting.
one day I was outside of the house in my
Hmm.
property, and my dad had bought a hearse, and it came from another area. And I sat inside this hearse, and as I sat in it, I don't know, it's because when people die, a lot of doors get opened.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bodies going into that one area, and so I sat inside this hearse. Then I heard something, and I'm like, huh? And I put my ear towards it. I was like, speak louder because I can't hear you. And
Yeah.
like all of a sudden, it was like the voice said, don't talk,
Hmm.
just listen.
Yeah.
Don't speak what you're hearing out loud. And I was like, okay. So I sat really still, and they said, this is your higher self. We're going to give you a download. We want you to know and be aware of what this is so you stop feeling like you're being attacked by something every time. Because I had so much fear that every time it happened, I thought there was an entity pulling
Mm.
energy from
Like
me.
possessing you or something.
Yes. And it
Like
was so powerful that like I couldn't even move. It's like I would be like stuck in a
paralysis.
position. Yeah, paralysis.
Yeah.
And so I thought that a demon or an entity was like trying to possess me, and it would
Yeah.
scare me every time. And so after I knew that's what it was, like they started giving me the download, and I could hear talking. It sounded like a business area. It always sounds like a business area to me, but like a lot of talking, and I was trying to hear, and I kept on asking, what was that? And they told me, just be still. Don't listen, just be still. And so like
Hmm.
after that, I knew what that was, and I knew what my higher self was, and I knew when I was communicating with other people's higher selves, because then I knew, I was then aware that yes, that's the higher self, and this is what
Mm.
happens, and I can hear that, and I can feel that, and I can sense that. So yeah, it's really something how when they actually make themselves known to you, how much more a door opens for you to step through into another reality vibrationally, and your life
Yeah.
changes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
100%. Yeah, more awareness, more expansion of reality opens up, I guess, of the relative world that we live in.
Yeah. So
Um, all right. So to close this off, I always ask three questions, and I love asking these questions because I love hearing the answers. So, um, the first question is, what is your definition of life?
existence.
Existence.
Existence of
Okay.
all that is, like, and on for me on several layers and
Mm,
several densities and several timelines and all of it. That's life. The moment that they showed me, I mean, there was still life inside. It was completely dark,
yeah.
and it was like very like infinite peace. It was almost like feeling like you're in the womb, right? And then coming out that
Hmm.
orb of light, like from that, and seeing like it being created and everything that came after, almost like a deck of cards being flipped through,
Yeah.
that's everything that's from the start all the way through. Like that's life.
Hmm.
All the love that you've been able to express through it all. Like
Hmm.
everything that's outside of love is just not going to ever exist afterwards. But like all the love that you've expressed, that's life. That's
Hmm.
life to me.
Beautiful. Next question is 10 years back, that version of you. What would the version of you right now tell that person? That version.
Relax. Relax and be yourself.
Mm,
Love yourself and put yourself first. It's not
yeah.
as hard as you're making it.
Yeah. Oh boy. Do we ever do we ever make it so hard for ourselves? And the last question is, what do you want to leave with humanity?
I think that I am already leaving with humanity, like through all the lifetimes and all the timelines and all the things that I've walked into and taken on, because I have taken an inordinate amount of things from people, and they may have been because I love them, and they may have not seen the value in what I did. And I know I do not need to do this anymore. But all the information that I collected and all the things I took on and I sent back to source, like I have made my impact on reality and on
Mm,
life and humanity. I'm making it every day, and I've already have like, and so like I'm pretty
mm,
secure in that, and like very content in that. Like
yeah.
I know just my existence is doing something. And the
Yeah.
more that I take care of myself and love myself through this, it's
Yes.
it's it's emitting a fuller capacity of light and codes into the earth and to everybody around me. And
Mm,
that's, I'm doing my job. Like, you know,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean that kind of ties back and to expand it even more, kind of like to what I was saying about everybody's playing their part.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if like maybe you were a janitor that helped a student, and then that student becomes the president of the United States
Yeah.
because of the one thing that you said. You are playing your part.
Yes.
And more than anything, to exist right now
Oh
simply
yeah.
means that you are worthy of existing. Everything that is
Yes.
not existing is in non-existence. So that means, by definition, to exist here in the now, you are worthy of existing and you are worthy as a being.
Yes.
So,
That's one thing I learned. You are worthy of being who you are. You're worthy of taking up space. You're worthy of being alive. I mean, like the things that we have gone through has shown us the opposite of it in order for us to
mhm,
come full circle and know that we're worthy of taking up space.
yeah,
There's a purpose, and we
absolutely.
already are when we exist. Yes.
Well, Christina, thank you so much for being on the show, and I appreciate all of your wisdom that came through. I know that this is going to help so many people, so thank you so, so much.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.